I've just spent the last couple of days in that cupboard testing no less than 9 lavalier microphones with the Rode Wireless Go 2. Some really interesting results. I think you're going to want to see them. Stewart here, pleasure to talk to you as always. On the table here I have 9 lavalier microphones compatible with the Rode Wireless Go 2, ranging from, if we talk US dollar terms, $12.99 all the way up to about $130. So a huge disparity there. The amazing thing is all of them sound great. Now there was a time, let's say, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years ago when we bought a bunch of cheap lavalier microphones and they were rubbish and they also broke very quickly. I couldn't believe that these all sound absolutely fantastic. We bought the cheapo ones on the assumption they would be a benchmark against which the more expensive ones could be compared. But in terms of sound quality, they do all sound good. We did some haphazard signal to noise ratio tests in that cupboard there. And by and large, they all perform very, very well. They certainly all meet a minimum standard. So that is fantastic. Knowing that all of these 9 microphones give us a satisfactory audio quality, I want to focus first on 2 issues that matter even more than sound quality itself. The first is radio frequency interference that can come from plugging a lavalier microphone into your transmitter. It sounds something like this. No matter how good your microphone is, if you have on your recording, then it's kind of pointless and you need to look elsewhere for another microphone. The second issue, and it's very specific to the Rode Wireless Go 2, is the inherent gain or signal strength of these lavalier microphones. Just to be clear, if you're using this transmitter as a standalone sound recorder, i.e. you're not transmitting to the receiver and then recording onto a camera, for example, you're just recording internally into the transmitter, you cannot control the gain of this device. You get what you are given. The 0 to -30 gain control that you get on the receiver does not apply when you're recording internally. And as a result, some people have complained that it is easy to clip on this microphone. Now, personally, I've never really had that issue because this is the kind of application that we use it for, but nonetheless, it's a common complaint that you can get clipping quite easily on this because you cannot control the gain level when using it as an external sound recorder. Now, not all microphones are built equally. Some of them produce a stronger signal than others. So it would be intuitive to look for a microphone that provides a slightly weaker signal that's less likely to clip when used with the Rode Wireless Go 2 transmitter. Before we start ranking our favourites here, let's take a look at the 9 lavalier microphones vying for your hard-earned cash. The AGP Tech, the Boya BYM1, the Power Dewise, the Rode Lavalier Go, the Shure MVL, the Sony ECM LV1, the Synco S6E, the Sennheiser ME2, the Vojo P lavalier mic. Just to be clear, we bought these all with our own money, and if you saw our previous video about the DJI wireless microphone system and the best lavalier microphone for it, you'll know that we have one additional microphone on the table, and that is the Sennheiser ME2. The reason for that is the DJI system does not accept microphones with a locking 3.5mm jack. By comparison, the Rode Wireless Go 2 does. So if you do have nice, better quality microphones with locking jacks, the Rode's a better bet for you, unless you can find some kind of converter. So speaking of the Rode being a better bet, let's come back to the first issue of RF interference when we plug lavalier mics into our transmitters. I'm very pleased to say that this has not been a massive issue with the Rode Wireless Go 2. It's relevant, but it's not a huge issue, whereas it has been a bit of a concern for the DJI microphone system. Do check out our previous video on that. Only one of the 9 microphones on this table we would dismiss here because of interference with Rode's system, and that is the AGP Tech. Unfortunately, it's the cheapest of the bunch and it sounds amazing and it's incredibly good value for money with tons of accessories. But since we have options and since we don't need to tolerate interference, we have to say goodbye to the AGP Tech. 2 other microphones here we've listed as negligible for interference, meaning you can hear it, it does exist, it's on the track if you boost the gain up enough, but in a real world situation it's not going to cause you any trouble. However, given how fickle interference is, it can be here one minute, gone the next, we don't want a microphone that exhibits tendencies of interference whatsoever because you don't know what could be around the corner, so to speak. So unfortunately we've had to dismiss the Synco S6E, a really great value lavalier microphone, and the most expensive microphone on the table, the Sennheiser ME2. Measuring interference is hardly an exact science for us, given that we don't have repeatable lab conditions here. But I think what we can say is that the Rode Wireless Go 2 has performed very, very well, given that only one of the 9 microphones really has to be dismissed for interference concerns, with 2 of them coming into that negligible category. Moving on to the second issue of signal strength that comes from these microphones. As we said, given that we can't control the gain levels here, we don't want anything coming in too hot. So if we have a microphone that's a little bit loud, it's probably not a good thing. So that brings us to the Power Device, a very nice kit. You get lots of accessories in there, a nice little pouch. It's a nicely branded, packaged product. Nothing bad to say about the product itself, and it sounds great, but it is the loudest microphone here. Now, in many instances, that could be a good thing, but in this case, it's not a good thing. So unfortunately, we're going to have to dismiss it. But first things first, let's just have a little listen to it so you can hear that it is a great sounding microphone. This is an audio test of the Power Device Lavalier microphone. We recorded a 1 kHz tone playing at 94 decibels into each of the Lavalier microphones, and as you can see, the Power Device came in the loudest. Just to be clear, this subject of microphone sensitivity is not an issue if you're transmitting through the receiver into your camera, for example. The gain control that you have on the receiver is effective. But in an external sound recorder state, it has no role to play, and as such, it might be best to look for a slightly less sensitive lavalier microphone. Now that we've narrowed our list of microphones down from 9 to 5, how do we pick the best one for the Rode Wireless Go 2? Well, the reality is there's no such thing as a best microphone, especially when we have such a huge disparity of prices, but we also have a disparity of functionality, be it in terms of cable length and adaptability and such like. So let's look at each of the microphones individually, and you can decide which one is best for you. Starting with the cheapest first, the Vojo P sounds absolutely amazing given its price. It's unbelievably good value for money. It's got a nice convenient 1.5 meter cable length. The build quality seems okay. I wouldn't necessarily want to put it through the rigors of a professional environment, but depending on your usage, if you're looking after it, I'm sure it will serve you well. This is an audio test of the outrageously cheap Vojo P microphone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next up we have the Boya BYM1. It too is an extremely good value microphone. Now this time we get a 6 meter cable, which may or may not be a good thing. Personally, I find that a little bit inconvenient for the use case scenarios we have, but it could be amazing for you because it could do away with the need for a wireless microphone system altogether. You just plug it straight into your camera. It comes with a battery powered module that sits in the cable, and this allows you to alternate between camera or sound recorder applications and smartphone applications essentially. Personally, I find that's just something else you have to put somewhere, and I'd rather have a little TRRS to TRS adapter instead. The other thing worth pointing out is that the microphone itself is absolutely massive by lapel mic standards. Now again, this might not matter to you in the slightest, but if you are looking to conceal it, bigger is not better. This is an audio test of the Boya BYM1 lavalier microphone. Worth noting that it's one of the quietest on this list, so definitely worth considering if you're prone to getting a bit shouty. Stepping up into a new price bracket, we have the Sony ECM LV1. Kind of unusual lavalier microphone. It's a stereo microphone with 2 capsules in there for left and right audio capture. You can have it mounted horizontally or vertically depending on your application. Now for most purposes, given that lapel mics are omnidirectional and pick up audio from everywhere, it's probably not that useful having these 2 left-right capsules, but maybe there's an application that I'm not aware of. What I can say is it makes the head of the microphone absolutely massive compared with the others, so that could be a downside if you're looking to conceal it. Now, much as I'm not a big fan of 6 meter cables, the 1 meter cable you get with the Sony does seem a little bit short. And I think that's indicative of the Sony microphone as a whole, because you don't really get any accessories with it either. You don't even get a little pouch to carry things, but you do get a foam windshield, which is something. This is a test of the Sony ECM LV1 lavalier microphone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's talk about the 2 serious microphones on the table here that take us into the prosumer, or some may say professional level. The Shure MVL and the Røde Lavalier Go. You can tell straight away that these lavaliers are way better quality than anything that's come before. The microphone itself is small, it's metal construction, it feels very, very solid. Now, depending on your use case scenario, lavaliers can take a lot of abuse. We have got through a lot of lavs over the years, particularly shooting weddings. They just get tugged at. So depending on what you're doing with it, build quality is a vital concern. And with these higher end microphones, you can expect better build quality. In terms of audio quality, the Rode microphone has a warmer, richer tone. The Shure microphone definitely picks up those higher frequencies more. Now that can be useful if you're hiding a microphone under clothes. Again, it depends on your use case scenario. Coming back to this issue of clipping, if that's something of a concern to you, then the Shure microphone is a great option because the signal coming from that mic is not strong. It's one of the weakest that we tested. I'm really pleased to see with the Røde Lavalier Go that there was absolutely no issue of interference whatsoever with the corresponding Røde transmitter. Now that's great news because it was the worst performer with the DJI microphone. The Røde Lavalier Go comes with a TRS 3.5mm jack, so you can plug it straight into your transmitter, whereas you will need to convert the TRRS on the Shure to TRS, and it doesn't come with that adapter. It's a cheapo purchase though on Amazon. This is a test of the really nice quality Røde Lavalier Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is a test of the Shure MVL lavalier microphone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So tempting though it was to try and pick one clear winner out of these 9 microphones, it's not really that simple. We've got completely different budgets here and different functionality for that matter. If budget was my number one concern, then I'd go for the Vogel P or the Boya BY-M1. If clipping was a real concern, then I'd go for the Shure MVL, given that it has a weaker signal. And if I was looking for a microphone that will give me great performance and will stand the test of time, I would probably skip the Sony and go straight to the Røde Lavalier Go. Having thrown numerous lavalier microphones in the bin over the years, there's something to be said for prioritizing build quality because it could save you money in the long run. So there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Obviously, we couldn't cover every single lavalier microphone. It is a nice touch though that we can use these 3.5mm locking jack lavs with the Røde Wireless Go 2. So that opens up the door for some of the more premium microphones. But we're sticking at the kind of sub $100 range for this video. Okay, pleasure to talk to you as always, and we will see you next time.